So today's question, should I pay off my mortgage early or invest in 2020? The common thoughts here are, I need to pay off my mortgage before I retire so I don't have that big payment each month. And so no one can ever take my home away from me. Another common thought here is, well, I need to pay off my mortgage so I can invest that big monthly payment and have enough money to do whatever I want, including retire. Those are kind of common conventional ways of thinking, but we want to explore today how true are those ways of thinking in 2020? What does grandma have to say about this question? Should I pay off my mortgage early or invest in 2020? Long story short, it's complicated. If you just want to stop watching now, it's complicated. But we want to dig into that complication during this video. This is actually Wait, before I want to say this is one of the areas where what worked for the greatest generation needs to be tweaked for our generation. I mean, we were looking up mortgage statistics before the call today, and we found out mortgage rates in 1920 for a single family home in an urban area were 6.2%. And in 1940, they were 5.55%. So you're at like 5.5 to 6.2% of growth. We're lucky to be around 4% today. So we have to wonder, what needs to change given just that fact alone, not to mention what happened with stocks and all that kind of stuff between 1920 and 1940 and what we're experiencing now as well. So Brandon, you wanted to jump in. I'm sorry.
Well, and there's so many conversations about, can you pay off your mortgage and all of a sudden you're going to have freedom because you paid off your mortgage. And I don't know, there's a whole lot of financial gurus that say, debt is bad or who knows, whatever. It doesn't even matter what they're saying. And that's where we ask this question. Should I pay off mortgage early or invest? That is a valid question. And some people, they want to pay off their mortgage, not because they've done the math. It's just because everyone else says, I'm going to pay off my mortgage because that's what everybody else says.
Yeah. So we have to acknowledge that it's not just math here. If you agree with me, say I agree in the comments. It's not just math here. It's also a psychological thing. And we have to make sure we're making a decision based on both of those things. We have to emotionally feel good about it, and we have to know that it's the right thing. And what I find problematic is that people, we summarize, it's complicated, but when people try to make it too simple, I think is when they're often making the wrong decision. When they are willing to embrace the complication, sit in it a little bit, crunch the numbers, see how those numbers feel to them, all those kind of things, that's when they make a really good decision. So what we want to do today is tell you a couple stories, help you think through how complicated it is so that you can make the right decision for you. How does that sound?
That sounds great. And if that sounds good, put that sounds great in the chat, or better yet, hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe, all that other fun stuff. That's my little pitch for sharing it out.
Yeah, because if you haven't figured this out yet, with grandma, we're not telling anybody what to do. We're giving you the tools and the resources and the right questions to ask so that you can decide what you want to do for yourself. Okay. So welcome to that approach to financial management, right? And thanks, Pat. I love that you're here, and thanks for sharing too. Okay. So I got to tell some stories just to set this up a little bit. The first story is about a couple who got divorced, and the woman in the divorce got a settlement of the divorce, and she also got the home with the mortgage and everything. And she decided, because her biggest concern was feeling like she was secure, she wanted to pay off her mortgage so she never had mortgage payments that she had to worry about. So she took this divorce settlement and she paid off her mortgage. Very shortly after she did that, that was when 2008, 2009 hit, right? Or 2007, the mortgage or the real estate market plunged. She lost her job. And to make matters even worse, if it couldn't get any worse, she became disabled. So here she is, jobless, disabled, paid off her home, and just going, finishing up a divorce and everything. She desperately needed money. Like, she needed to feed herself. She needed to figure all these things out. But now all of that settlement that she got was locked into the walls of her home. Because she was jobless, the bank wasn't going to give her a new mortgage, like help her cash out, refinance, or anything like that. There's no way to get at it. And not just jobless, but the prospects of getting a job were really low for her too. It's a totally heartbreaking story of the dangers of following blindly. I'm going to pay off my home as quick as I can, right? Imagine if that had just happened to her, or anybody, whether they were divorced, jobless, disabled back in February, if they just decided, hey, I just paid off my mortgage, I'm celebrating, woohoo. And then March hits, they lose their job, they're trying to figure out what to do. I wonder if they would have rather had the ability to have saved that money instead of put it toward their mortgage. So that kind of gives you a picture where we're coming from. The other thing I think about, this is something that we saw a bunch on the south side of Chicago with senior citizens that maybe their family had been in their home for a generation or two. Maybe they had just worked really hard for the home that they bought 30 years ago, and it's paid off. They were really excited. They thought, I'm secure. But what's happened on the south side of Chicago is that the property taxes have started going up and up and up for all kinds of reasons. And the government wants that to be paid, but a lot of these seniors are on fixed income. They can't pay those property taxes. So the government comes in and says, well, then we're going to take your home. We're going to auction it off. We're going to hope that we get enough to pay the back taxes that you owe us. But you need to go find a new place to live. Now imagine that scenario. Actually, you see this if you look at it, and I'd totally fact check us on this, but what people are seeing is that the government's not coming after the seniors who still have mortgages. Sure, they might be just as behind on paying their property taxes, but because they have a mortgage, they know the bank is going to be on the side of the senior, not on the side of the state, right? When the state comes in and says, we're going to take over your home and we're going to auction it off, guess what? The bank comes to the table and says, we need to get paid for our loan that we gave this senior. You can't do that. Because the bank needs to be made whole too, and you're not going to auction it off enough to pay the taxes and the bank. So what's interesting is when you have a mortgage, you can get some of these big banks to be on your side when push comes to shove.
A bank would be on your side?
One of the very few cases, right? But that's totally what happens, right? Now, let's come back to here now. We don't know what's going to happen in the future, right? We don't know if property taxes are going to be going up when we're 70, 80 years old.
Could I add something?
Yeah, sorry.
So I was just talking to a person just about 5 minutes ago, and owns a property in the South Loop of Chicago. And he was saying due to COVID, the coronavirus and all of that, that the mayor has already talked about raising property taxes due to all of that. And nothing's happening, of course, but it's already in the conversation. So again, taxes could possibly go up.
Yep.
We don't know.
Right. Yeah. And none of us have a crystal ball. We don't really know what's going to happen. With COVID in particular, when we talk to some mortgage people that know that industry way better than we do, they've been telling us that they don't see any possible way except that mortgage interest rates are going to be going up, because with so many people being unemployed, unable to buy homes, that's going to decrease prices. So then these mortgage companies aren't giving as big of mortgages, so they have to make the interest up somewhere. They're going to increase the rates. Even if the Fed doesn't increase interest rates, that doesn't mean anything for mortgages. The mortgages can do whatever they need to do or whatever. So, and then so that's kind of future wise, but if we look historically, just over many, many years, what you find is that home values have only barely kept up with inflation. They've only increased by about 1% more than inflation. So if inflation's been 4%, home values have only been about 4%. So the equity in your home is only really increasing. But that's, of course, on average. When you just look at the nation as a whole, we all know local market, real estate's a local thing. Local markets can see huge upswings in certain years and then huge downswings in other years. You don't ever really know what's going to happen there. So that's kind of the first side of it. Should you pay off your mortgage more quickly? But then you got to look at, well, what's your alternative? If you're not going to pay off your mortgage more quickly, where would you be putting this money? And there are still people out there that believe they could make 8% or more in the stock market with mutual funds and that kind of thing. So you've got to wonder, well, then why are they saying to pay off your mortgage if they think they can make that much in the market? And if it's truly compound interest, you're going to see 8% compound really quickly, more quickly than just 4% in a mortgage, so to speak, right? The longer you have to compound, the longer the interest. So I actually want to show you some real numbers here. I'm going to share my screen.
Wait, you're going to back it up with math?
Yeah. So let me zoom in a little bit here. So at the top here, we've got a $240,000 mortgage. Can you see this okay?
I need to take off that thing here.
Oh, yeah, thanks.
I don't remember how to do it.
Oh, do you want me to do it? Sorry, I'm looking at the wrong. Oh. Okay, should be able to see it now.
There you go.
Okay, I'm going to so here's your $240,000 mortgage, 30-year mortgage at 4% interest, and we're contemplating adding $500 extra per month. That's pretty good. So here's what would happen just if you had your typical mortgage. You got $240,000 at 4%. You paid off over 360 months, 30 years. You end up paying $172 in interest and $412,000 in total payments, your loan plus all that interest. Okay. So when we're thinking about, well, okay, let's add $500 to our monthly payment. Let's see what happens. So instead of 30 years, we pay it off in a little under 20 years, 17 years, I think is what that is. Let me check. 200 divided by 12, 17 years. Yeah. 16 and 2/3. And look at this. The interest saved, you're only paying $89,000 in interest instead of $172,000. So it's $83,000 of interest saved. Who wouldn't want to do that, right? And then after that 17 years, you start saving for another 13 years, $1,600, and you end up with $41,000. Okay. That's $124,000 that you have total benefit. Let me just fact check something real quick because I was doing these numbers kind of quickly. Times 12 times 13 years. Yeah, that's wrong. Sorry, I'm going to fix this real quick. Brandon, tell us something while I'm fixing this.
Well, the main thing that people look at is, well, I can save $80,000 or $90,000 by paying off my mortgage faster, which again makes sense, right? If you're just looking at that and nothing else, then maybe that would make sense. The challenging factor is what happens between now and 17 years from now. That can be a very different conversation.
Yeah.
And we don't know. I mean, again, who knew in, let's say, December that we would be in a shutdown like we are now, or any of this stuff. like any of it that we would have known. So that's 17 years of not, I don't know.
Yeah, if you needed that 500, you could lower it, but if you needed what that 500 could have grown into, you don't have access to it. It's stuck in the walls of your home. So maybe. So here I fixed it. So total benefit at the end of 30 years, 442,000 that you have there. Okay. Now let's see, what if you took that $500 a month and instead put it directly into a savings account, or not even a savings account, just an account that also made 5% interest over time. So that's all we're doing here. You actually have less money. Why would you do that? Why would we even think about doing that, right? We've got four.
Wait, you have less? Oh, yeah. Then that's the problem.
So you've got $33,000 less. But guess what we didn't factor in here? You can still pay off your mortgage in 17 years. Because you can, if you wanted to, you can take the $500 that's building up over here and you can use it to pay off your mortgage. So let's go over here. On this sheet, here's your mortgage amortization. Here's the savings building up right here in year.
Can you zoom in a little bit? It's hard to see that.
Sorry. Right here in year 17. This is the mortgage balance at the end of that year. Here's your savings balance at the end of that year. So you could pay off your mortgage. And then let's just take the interest that you would have paid from month 204 on. So let's go down. And if you want the spreadsheet, email us at hello@grandmaswealthwisdom.com and we'll send it to you so you can look at what we're doing here. So I'm just adding up all the interest that we could save if we paid off our mortgage at that point. See if this works. I put minus. So that's another 40,000. So if I take that back here, instead of 409, I would actually then have 449,000. So I ended up with $7,000 more. But we're not done yet, right? Like Brandon was saying, at any point along the way, you can do whatever you want. You increase your options. Whereas when you're putting the money into your home, like in option 1, you're decreasing your options, especially if something negative happens, right? So that's kind of the moral of the story there. I'm going to start sharing that and we're going to come back because I think what we want to get to is this idea of flipping the script. So much of conventional thinking is so ingrained in us that it really becomes, how can we flip the script? How can we say, okay, I've been taught this, but what if I did a 180? What if I looked at it from a totally different perspective? Would that be helpful to me? And again, we're not telling you what to do. We're just saying, there's so much to putting yourself in someone else's shoes, trying to see something from a different perspective that all of us could learn from in so many areas of our lives, right?
Especially in today's world.
Yes, absolutely. So what we're saying is before you just blindly follow what you've been told, check it out. See how it feels. See if the math adds up. Because your mortgage probably isn't exactly $240,000. Your interest rate might not be exactly 4%. You might not have just started a mortgage and have exactly 30 years left, right? You got to personalize these to yourself. We're just saying, look at it, right? And can be willing to consider your home might not be the most stable place to put your money.
Oh, that's
what a concept, right? Yeah. Because if 2008 taught us nothing, it taught us that home values don't always go up. Sometimes they go down. And we know that on a national scale now. Whereas before then, maybe we only knew that in small pockets of cities or states that saw home prices go down at some point in the past because of an earthquake or a hurricane or something like that. But it's a fiction that home prices always go up, right? Here's the truth, I think. Your home equity is something you don't have a lot of control over. You don't know what it's going to be in the future, especially when you might most need it. But you can know that possibly having a mortgage is one situation in which the bank can be used to your convenience and to your favor. And if you're just joining us, make sure, like I said that, but it ties into a story we told earlier. So you want to go back and listen to that story we told earlier about what's happening in Chicago right now with people, and has been happening for years. Because it's kind of this. If you get into trouble, something bad happens, which situation would you rather be in? I got 3 situations for you. 1, a paid off mortgage, but you're unable to buy groceries. 2, calling the bank to defer your mortgage payments so that you can buy groceries. I actually just got a letter in the mail today from our mortgage company making sure I knew I could defer payments because of COVID, right? Or 3, having the funds available to pay off your mortgage whenever you want, but you could also use them to buy groceries or take advantage of smart investment opportunities. Which one do you want, right? When something negative happens, do you want to have your mortgage paid off but not be able to buy groceries? Do you want to be talking to a bank trying to get them on your side, which they are on your side because they want to get paid, so that you can still buy groceries? Or do you want to have a big pile of cash so that you're not as worried about paying your mortgage or buying groceries, and you actually have potential to take advantage of opportunities too? Because
and another thing is, let's say you have paid off a lot and you want to refinance your house or get that money out, and you lost your job due to, I don't know, economic downturn. Will the banks give you a loan from that? Will they give that back to you? Most of the time, no.
Right. Yep. So this all comes down to one of our core tenets with Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, and it's this: your biggest investment is in yourself. When you learn to invest in yourself and your continued growth and learning and in your own happiness and joy, and you think about how that impacts the people around you, that helps you make different decisions, right? Than just investing in a product or paying off debt as quick as you can. And especially with such a volatile market that we're in and the uncertainty of home values in the future and all of that, you got to think about your own stress levels for your own health and your well-being as well. So we do have to acknowledge that we're finally coming to like the point here. So if you're here, you're at the right time. The point of all of this is actually, it's not an either or. Should I pay off my mortgage early or should I invest? There's actually a third option, and that's save. Saving is different than investing. Saving allows you to pay off your mortgage anytime you want to, but you're keeping that nice pile of funds available. And a lot of people don't talk about what that looks like. Brandon, you made a really good point to me earlier about Mr. Ramsey and what he's saying right now.
Oh, yeah. So what he had said recently was all the baby steps. And I heard this. He said, put the baby steps on pause. If there's certain situations, put the baby steps on pause. If and really start putting a lot towards savings. That $1,000 needs to be more than that. And again, with inflation, for me, I'm like, well, yeah, it should be way more than $1,000 with inflation anyway. But that was something I found interesting. Is he's not saying, oh yeah, just get rid of debt, which I think, again, debt, some of it can be bad, some of it is good, depends. But that whole thing was baby steps on pause and keep cash in an emergency fund rather than pay extra on debt. That's what he said. Now, this is Dave Ramsey saying this. Why would he be changing like that? And why is he saying this now? Why didn't he say this, I don't know, 6 months ago? That would have been better, right?
Or 30 years ago, so that all of us had bigger cash cushions so that when a crisis happens, we've got way more than $1,000 to pay our mortgage, buy our groceries, do all the things we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying go out and spend on credit cards or not pay your credit cards or any of that. I'm saying like having that emergency fund, having that foundation piece in place before investing in things you cannot control, that maybe that's a better, possibly better way.
Yeah. So what this actually ties in really great with the podcast episode that came out today from the Grandma's Wealth Wisdom podcast. Brandon, maybe you can put the link to that in the comments so people can check that out. We're talking about leveraging assets, which is one of the things we talk about all the time. That with Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, we help people to manage their take charge of their cash flow and leverage their assets. Leveraging assets is a key thing here. And what we're talking about is leveraging your home as an asset. Yes, your home is a liability too. We could talk a lot about that. But using your home as an asset that allows you to build wealth outside your home as well. And it all boils down to this whole idea of looking at your finances as all one wallet. Too often, we divide the different parts of our financial lives into, well, this is my monthly, this is my savings, this is my investing, this is my debt. And we're not looking at the big picture. We're putting them in silos and just saying, well, I'm going to get out of debt as fast as I can, and then I'm going to save. Or I'm going to get out of debt as fast as I can, and then I'm going to invest. When if we look at it all together, we can say, well, actually, I'm going to do a little bit here and a little bit there, and here's why I'm doing this and all of that. And it's in the podcast, we actually break it down to a process, a visualization of first, you're going to have two hands. Your one hand is debts and the other hand is assets, things that are growing. And what does it look like to have some balance there? And then we talk about pockets, and pockets are kind of where you start to save and you move some of those assets that are at risk just sitting in your hand and you put them in your pocket where they're harder to get to, right? Other people can't put their hand into your pocket and steal them. And so listen to that episode, hear more about what we talk about. But this idea of building a pocket of cash is what we're kind of talking about with that 5% growth account there, that you could pay off your mortgage or you could invest, or you've got all kinds of options for when you find the right time and the right way to take advantage of those options. And then in the meantime, you just want to make sure that that pocket is tax efficient, growing, right, by 5% for sure, not like 0.10%, right, or 0.1%. And it's safe, right? No one can dip their fingers into it. It's a pocket with like a lock on it that no one can get into it. And that's actually what we specialize in with Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, is creating that kind of place to store your money where the government can't tax it. It continues to grow and it's safe. It's not going to disappear when the stock market goes down or that kind of thing. So if you want to learn about what it looks like to create one of those pockets, how we do that, what kind of things meet that criteria, all you got to do is go to grandmaswealthwisdom.com/start and you can get started with us right there. Now, I do have to say, some of this can seem really overwhelming to really, this is why people try to make it simple and they don't want to complicate it because they want your business, right? Like they're doing sales. If you complicate people, you lose people when you're trying to do sales. But we're not trying to do sales. We're trying to do education. We're trying to do empowerment. And if you've ever felt like someone's made it so simple, it can't be true, right? Someone's made it so easy that it feels like they're just selling me something. And yet you've still gone with it because you don't know a better way, right? Or that's what everyone else is doing. But you've always had that nagging thought in the back of your head, what if I'm not being told the full story? What if I'm just being sold something that's going to make someone else rich? What if? or you felt like I don't have any options. I've got to risk in the market. I've got to do this or that because that's the only way I'm going to ever break free, right? That can be really stressful and really aggravating to feel that way. And I never want anybody to feel that way. I want them to feel like they've got this nice, solid foundation that they can choose to take calculated risk from when it makes sense. And their home could be that foundation, but it could also be a nice big pocket of cash, right? Like, yeah. So that's the kind of exploring and fun that we like to have with people. And we do try to make it fun. Brandon, I'm kind of waiting for you to interrupt me here.
I thought you were just going. I don't know. I mean, again, I think it's all one wallet. We always want to look at it. It's all one wallet. If you're making supposedly all this return on the market, and then it's volatile and up and down, and you're trying to pay off your mortgage, and then you lose a job, or you gain a job, or all of this, there's it's complicated, right? That's why we like to spend that time with our clients and say, okay, how is your life? What do we need to do to make it less complicated, maybe, but knowing that in reality, life is complicated and your goals, things change. And how do you address the situation? Like, again, paying off your mortgage. Maybe that feels awesome. You have your mortgage paid off, but when you're 80 and you have your mortgage paid off, but you need peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and you can't afford it because Social Security is gone. Like, that's a possibility, right? What do we do there to verify or make sure we have a solid foundation? And I believe that a lot more people are going to be business owners. A lot more people are going to be having to figure this out on their own. And we have to help them figure out, okay, or just say, all right, your business, is it serving you? Is your home serving you? Are all these pieces serving you? And if it's not, then maybe we don't need it, right? I would like to take a quick detour to the thing that we're doing next Wednesday, right?
Okay, and then I'll wrap us up with a story.
Yeah, so we have a master class that we are doing about all of this, and really thinking about, okay, what do we, as we've learned, business and personal, how do these things intersect? How do you become profitable? How do you make sense of Dave Ramsey saying pay off your mortgage, stock market's going up and down, who knows? And you're just trying to get through life and survive, right? What do we do? And so we wanted to create a roadmap and a path. What is your path towards wealth? What is your path towards freedom? And so this webinar on Wednesday, we're going to be talking a lot about that. So, and it's if you go to grandmaswealthwisdom.com/freedom, you'll find more about it.
Yeah, and if you're watching this after like months from now or weeks from now, still go to that site because we're going to be having our latest and greatest awesomeness at grandmaswealthwisdom.com/freedom. So go there, check out what we're doing right now to help you break through to a smart, stable financial future and how you can get involved with that.
So I hope we answered this question about, what was our title here?
Yeah, I'm going to put it back up there because I want to finish with a story.
Yeah, should I pay off my mortgage early or invest in 2020? Like, I feel like that's the biggest question that's asked almost as much as savings and all this. Everybody's always asking this question. So here we go. We're so many opinions. We figured we'd weigh in and share that. And again, if you like this video, hit the thumbs up, share it, put a comment. Let us know that you love us. Let us know if you hate us. either way.
Okay, wrapping up with the story. So just today, I was talking with someone and he told me that they were thinking about paying off their mortgage earlier than later, partly because he wants to leave his full-time work in 3 to 5 years and he wants to not have a mortgage in 3 to 5 years. But he's also trying to grow a business at the same time. And he doesn't know which way to go. And we bounced some of these ideas off. We had a nice conversation about it. We didn't have a ton of time to talk. We weren't pulling numbers. We were just kind of spitballing a little bit. What if you did this? What if you did that? That kind of thing. And the bottom line of what it came down to is that he needed to make sure he knows what's happening in his business with the cash flow in his business, how much money it's making, what are the best products and services to be, selling, what is he spending money on, what does inventory control look like, all those kinds of things. And while he's figuring that out, to really see like how profitable is this business, how much could he grow it, could it replace his full-time income, or does he need to add something else if he wants to be able to leave his job in 3 to 5 years? That's a big deal. And where we kind of left it was that he is going to just start putting what he can aside in just a general savings account, just for like 6 months or so. Continue working out the kinks in his business. His business is one of those that could have a lot of sales at the end of the year around the holidays, right? So we'll see how that goes. And then in the meantime, keep asking himself this question. If I want to leave my job in 3 years, what's it going to take? What's it going to take to leave my job in 3 years? What is it going to take? And every time he comes back to that question, I think he's going to get clearer and clearer of what is it going to take. Is it going to take this business? Is it going to take doing something else? Is it going to take paying off the mortgage? What, all of the above? What's it going to take, right? And that's exactly maybe what you need to do. Rather than asking this question, should I pay off my mortgage early, or should I invest those funds, or should I save? Find out what your goal is. What do you want most, right? Do you want to leave your job in 3 to 5 years? Do you want to feel secure? Do you want, X, Y, or Z? Find out what that is and then say, what's it going to take to get that? Yeah. And don't rush through it. Let that answer come to you. Like, first, you got to settle on what's the thing I want, right? That could take some time. I know some people that go years trying to figure out what they really want. Hopefully you get that within like a week, maybe. But then that what's it going to take? That can take months to test a few things, keep asking questions, running some numbers, having some people that you trust that you can talk through it with. That's it, right? The answer, should I pay off my mortgage, might be yes, or it might be no. Should you invest? It might be yes, it might be no. Should you save? That might be yes, it might be no. It all depends on what are your true goals and dreams and what's it going to take to make those happen.
That's ultimately the end of it, right?
Yeah.
So.
And what you want is what you want. So make it happen and let us know how we can help you make that happen. Sound good?
Yep. And do the math. You have to align that with the math and really verify. And do those things both equal?
Yeah. And personally, I love doing the math. So make me do the math for you. I'd love to do that.
Cool. Well, I hope we answered this. If you guys have any other questions you want us to ask, answer, whatever, send them to us. We will make that a podcast, a YouTube, Facebook Live, I don't know. And if you like this stuff, share it with a friend.
And now I'm starting to sing, so tell me what you want, what you really, really want. So I should probably leave. Okay, peace.
All right, have a good one.